I've been sent this quite a few times in the last couple days. All day yesterday, people kept linking it. And SK made this video about why Overwatch ranked feels so miserable. And there's a hint, it's not balance. I asked SK if she's cool with me watching it and reacting to it. She said, okay. So I'm curious because I have my own take on all of this, but I've been very reluctant to give it because I haven't been playing a lot of ranked in the last few seasons. So I didn't know if it was just me feeling it recently or if like the game had changed. Okay, so like let me give you a quick overview before I go into anything. This season, I have played 74 games of comp. Now there's some DPS games in there, but like I've played significantly more tank games than I did, say, last season. I played 108 games of comp last season, and I played most of those being DPS. So currently this season, I've already played more tank games than I played all last season. And Alari hasn't even hit comp yet, so not even 2 weeks in. So I've been a little bit more reluctant because I wasn't sure if that's just how ranked is now. But let's see what SK has to say, and then we'll see.
I want to start off by saying that I love Overwatch and that this rant comes from a place of love. I want Overwatch to...
That's smart. That is very smart to say. Because unfortunately, people think that if you are critical of something, you must hate it and you should go for yourself. Unfortunately, that is not the case, and that has never been the case for anything in history. So smart to say that right off the bat, but it's unfortunate that that has become the new norm.
To succeed, but if these problems aren't addressed, it won't, straight up. And that's why I'm making this video. Let's start with cards. In Overwatch, you can only see your rank update every 5 wins or 15 losses. The 15 losses thing is just there in case you manage to lose 15 games before you win 5, which almost never happens, although I've managed it. Each one of these 5 wins is called a card, and on your way to finishing one, the game keeps track of your wins and losses, reporting your overall after every game. If you hit 5 wins, it resets to 0-0. The goal is both to give players an extra incentive to play and to reduce the feeling of a loss. If you have...
There's also a third piece. SK's right about that. I know this because I talked to the Overwatch team last year when I went to Blizzard for the summit. I didn't go this year because I didn't want to go. I didn't want to travel. I didn't want to get sick before Season 6, even though I was invited multiple times. Basically, there was a talk of how people had a lot of anxiety around playing ranked with the number system because the numbers go up, numbers go down, numbers go... Yeah, I see, man, we tried. No, I know. But a lot of people speculate. It's like, oh, he didn't go. He must have not got invited. Dude, I got invited like countless times. They did. Blizzard went above and beyond to try to make sure I could go. I genuinely just don't like traveling. If you know me, if you watch my streams, all that stuff, I hate traveling. I am a big dude. Being on a plane in a small, like even standing in the aisle, I stand like this. My head's like slightly tilted. Never mind when I'm actually in the seat. It's ass. So point is though, in the Overwatch 1 system, people were really afraid of like the numbers going up and down, up and down. It's like the numbers going down, the numbers going down. And so the idea of changing the rank system was to reduce that anxiety. However, I actually think the anxiety has not gone away. It's now been shifted because instead of the anxiety of the number going up and down, the anxiety now exists of, I don't know what's happening. I don't know how to go up. I don't know how to rank up. I don't know how to rank down. I don't understand how the system works. Like there's now an anxiety of not knowing how ranked works because it's not transparent. And I think it's done by design, and I don't agree with it.
4 wins, you'll keep on going to finish the card and see your rank go up. If you lose a game, you don't have to watch the number go down. It just adds a little number to your losses on your card.
SK covered it.
No matter.
Nailed it.
And that all sounds great, but the negatives far outweighs the positives. The little extra boost of, oh, I need to finish my card is flaky and it only applies sometimes. To truly keep people playing ranked, to truly get them invested, you need to make them want to rank up despite all the frustrations of playing a competitive game. And that's where Overwatch has failed. First off, it's confusing. While your rank isn't updating on your profile for these cards, it is actually updating, and this can change matchmaking and change your rank after the season ends.
Yes. So I'm going to let SK finish here. But remember at the beginning of Overwatch, we had that thing where we all reset back down like 2 ranks and everyone was losing their minds. Like, I'm plat, but now I'm silver playing with silvers and everyone's losing their mind. You weren't actually plat. You were literally plat. Sorry, you weren't actually silver. You were plat playing with other plats, but you could see the rank as silver. This was actually the 3900 system in Overwatch 1, aka you could not place higher than 3900 after 5 like after every season. So if you finish the season 4600, 4500, like close to like top 50, top 500, you would then be 3900 masters, playing as if versus people that are 4500, 4600 top 50 players with a masters logo. And so it felt terrible, but they implemented it for everybody, and it confused people even more because it was not a good system. And you know, it's got people really confused. And I remember Summit, when Summit 1G was playing Overwatch, he would turn his camera off because he's doing Summit things, and he have his camera off and he's watching my videos because I had like a PhD in Overwatchology of the rank system, and I couldn't even explain it to him through the videos. Like, he still was confused, and I can't even blame him because I sound like a mad scientist trying to tell people how it worked.
For example, if you're on 4 wins and 13 losses, but you didn't finish your card, you would D-rank after the season ended in order to update it. And if you're on 4 wins and 13 losses, which is 9 games down, you would presumably be down 2 ranks and be in games that are 2 ranks lower than before the card started, even though your rank is the same on your profile. In every other competitive game, it's as simple as win means rank go up, lose means rank go down. If you hit a certain number, you get the next rank. If you go below it, you D-rank. And that makes a lot of sense. It also leaves you with a way to check the system. Hey, I'm only gaining 15 for winning, but if I lose 25. What's up with that? But now you know, and it can always be explained. Maybe you're playing in lower elo lobbies, and as a result, it expects you to win because you have the advantage. Maybe the system is...
I will say that definitely still is a confusing part for other games. Like, it's not perfect. Like, other games, if you win a game, you go up 23 points, and then you lose one, and then you go down 28 points. You know, yes, there's ways to explain it, but it's not a perfect system. I would argue it's more readable, but it's not perfect.
Performance-based, and your stats aren't as high as it expects them to be. Maybe the game thinks you should be much lower than you are, so it's just trying to push you there. All of these are explained and able to be inferred, but when it comes to Overwatch, it's totally different. Everything is hidden. I just went 5-3 and D-ranked yesterday.
Well, hang on, SK. That's 5-4. Just pointing that out. I noticed many times as a streamer, people would come in my chat and say, I went 5-0 and D-ranked. I never had that happen to me, ever. Never once. So it's like, for me, it's hard to me to sympathize with it. Be like, how is that even possible? Because I went 5-0 and I went up, you know, or I went 5-4 and I didn't move, you know? And I think sometimes people forget their losses because they're more focused on the wins. Not taking away from the fact that that's not real, because it is real. This does happen. And I believe there is a way to explain it, but it shouldn't have. You shouldn't need a doctorate in Overwatchology to explain it.
What? With everything so hidden, there's no conclusion that you can come to other than that the system is broken. You can't possibly...
Well, I want to talk about keys eventually. I want to get to that.
It away. Which games in your card were responsible for losing extra or gaining little? What was the elo of the lobbies? How much more rating are you losing than gaining? It's impossible to tell. You can only assume that the system is broken, and what's the point of trying to climb a broken system?
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of players just give up. But what about before you finish your card? Surely that's where all the benefits lie. No. Going on a loss streak at the start of the card instantly destroys all your motivation to finish it. The very opposite of what the system is meant to do. You're just going through the motions of getting the 5 wins, knowing the entire time that you have a D rank waiting for you at the end.
And the that's wins are so super true. Stressful
because you know if you don't get them, the D rank will feel even worse than it already.
Last night, me and Karq started the night 1-7. 1-7 on the night. We finished our night of gaming at 7-7, but like I knew I was like, well, we're toast. But then we won 4 straight games on this card. And I didn't D-rank. We were good. Still GM1, no problem. But it was like, it was real tough to get the 5 wins, 7 losses thing. You know, like it was like, oh, this is... Especially when it was 1 win, 7 losses, and 2 wins, 7 losses. I'm like, oh, this is...
He feels.
You know, turn up the volume. It's all the way up. SK's a little bit quiet. I can try to do this for you and turn it up over here, but that's the best I can do.
And when you finally finish it, your win is rewarded with a nice big demotion. 5-10. Awesome. Let's talk about another example. Picture yourself going 4-0. You're 1 win away from finishing your card and seeing that sweet, sweet rank up. But you can't get it. You lose, and you finish at 5-5. You never got to see your rank go up. You were never rewarded for those 4 wins.
That's
but
true.
Boy, did you feel the pain of those losses.
That's
but
so
this system,
true.
Maybe
People say this about Overwatch all the time now. Overwatch feels, and this isn't just my words. These are people who come to my chat and say this. This is not my words. I repeat, this is not my words. People come to my chat and they say, Overwatch is the only game I've played where I can lose a game and be sad, and win a game and still be equally as sad. Like, winning the game didn't feel any better.
the 4 wins would have been enough to actually rank you up. You would have had a new peak. Sure, you would have lost it immediately by losing the next 5, but at least you hit a new peak. Instead of becoming happy and being rewarded for your wins and then losing it, you're instead just stressed because your happiness and achievement are being held just out of arm's reach. You never got to feel your victory. You felt nothing when you won and felt terrible when you lost. Again, the exact opposite of what the system is designed to do. The idea behind the card system is great. I'm all for encouraging people to play ranked more and lessening the feeling of a loss. And who knows, maybe it does make people play more. But it comes at the cost of feeling terrible the entire time unless you're only winning. Each loss feels less bad, but as you stack them up, they just sit there and they weigh on you until you get your 5 wins.
That's so
and if
true.
You're negative, you don't feel anything when you win, because you only get to watch it go down at the end. Let's talk about regions. Overwatch removed the ability to choose the region that you're playing on.
True.
If you want to play a different region or get NA West Coast games as an East Coast player and vice versa, you must purchase a third-party VPN.
I don't mind the West Coast, East Coast, US thing. Like, I understand it. It used to be a bigger deal back in Overwatch 1 because Overwatch League was in LA, so all the insane players were West Coast. So if you wanted to play in the really, really high-level sweaty lobbies, you would VPN West Coast. I used to do it too, all the time, because I enjoyed those lobbies at the time because I was like a sweaty player. I loved it. But now I would rather faster queue times, which I'll talk about in a little bit anyways. Queue times are getting ridiculous.
This is a problem for a few reasons. One, it used to be extremely common for EU players to come play on NA, because people talk more often, there's less toxicity, and there's no language barrier provided you speak English. But they can't do that anymore without paying for the VPN. In less populated regions like South America and Australia, New Zealand, it's standard to play on a
Australia's
server
had
with
it
more
rough.
people like NA. And anything above Masters, it's required. You'll
Yes,
never
that
find
is very
games,
true.
And if you do find them, they'll be super low quality, hence the different region. But again,
It was actually a problem in Overwatch 1 where people would VPN to Australia at 4 a.m. And try to stack games so they could hit rank 1 because they would play against diamond players. So the reverse also is true, where people would go there to abuse the bad quality of games. But if you're in Australia region, your games were so bad that you need to go to US to play.
you have to purchase a third-party VPN. For as long as Overwatch has been out, NA East and West Coast have been divided, and I can't for the life of me figure out why. We don't even have an East Coast server. What is called East Coast is actually Central.
That was always true, though. Like, the only reason we only had East Coast server at the launch of Overwatch 2 through Season 2, and then my personal theory is that the game's population dropped off a cliff. We don't know player numbers. Blizzard does not release those. They release monthly active login users, but considering their investor report was very much, hey, we've lost a lot of players, I wouldn't be surprised that it's dropped to the point where they don't need 3 servers, because there's the East Coast, which is like Washington, DC, then there was Chicago, which is SK's mentioning here, and then there's the LA server. Now we only have Chicago and LA. For almost the 3 years of Overwatch 1, from 2020 to 2022, like 2019, 2022, like the end of Overwatch 1, we only had those servers. There was no East Coast server. It didn't exist. So to me, that tells me the player population's dropped, and there's not a reason to have it anymore.
Which makes it so people playing on NA East from EU have about 30 extra ping all the time. But
That's
what
true.
I don't understand is why they aren't merged, or why we're not at least given the option to play one or the other. Queue times have been a notorious problem,
Yes.
especially in top 500, oftentimes
boy.
going above 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Wouldn't doubling the player population lessen the queue times? Why
I don't think the servers have anything to do with that, though. At least for NA. NA East and NA West, like, you can get a West Coast game all the time. Queue times is something completely different that we definitely need to have a conversation with. But to be honest with you, hey, this is not taking shots at SK. I love SK. But I remember SK is one of those, or I faintly remember SK as one of the people, because there was a lot of people who complained back in season 1, season 2, that the quality of matchmaking was so terrible, and that it was like really, really large fluctuating games, and we needed to have tighter matchmaking. I don't disagree. However, when I was getting 30-second queues for the same quality of game that I have today, I would rather get to play 20 games in a session than play 8 games in a session that are the same quality, right? Like, the quality of the game didn't really change for me. It feels the same. Yeah, you had like the really fluctuating, like, oh my God, that guy might actually be plat. That's hilarious. But that's better than waiting 20 minutes for a guy who's still plat but played with his buddy and got climbed up a little bit higher, you know? So it's just like, there's such a trade-off, but the community asked for it. And I remember I was one of the people who said I personally would rather take faster queue times over stronger matchmaking, and I was in the minority for it at that time. So no shade. This is not even like, there was a lot of people. I think, like, I remember like Boger, Craggy. I think maybe it wasn't Boger. I think a few of the tank players were like, no, please don't send us back. But like a lot of the DPS and support players especially very much spoke out about it, and about the queue times. So I would rather have faster games. I'm so sick of the 20-minute queue times. But SK spitting here. This is all literally 100% true.
The two communities completely separate. It's weird to me. Now let's talk about top 500. There's a million things wrong with it, and although
That's
it
true.
only affects a tiny percentage of players,
That's true.
it's still important because it's essentially the end.
And I don't want to be that guy, but we've definitely gotten that answer before. Like, how can you be mad? It only affects like 1,000 people versus the hundreds of thousands that play the game. You know, does that make our opinion any less valid? It kind of sucks. It kind of sucks when that happens, because I understand the all for one for all mentality type of thing, but it's like, dude,
It's what
people look up to getting to top 500. Like, that's the top rank. That's supposed to be like the goal of ranked. And it's like, it's nothing anymore. It doesn't mean shit.
players aspire to achieve. It's supposed to be the peak of Overwatch ranked, the promised land, where every game is good and you always have good teammates and everybody calms and wants to win. And that's what it used to be, but nowadays it's not even close. Motivation of top players is at an all-time low. It's rare
Ooh, I
to
think
get
I
a game where
pre-watched
everyone
this.
tries their hardest to win. Even more rare to get a game where everyone's hard calming. Even pro players don't join voice chat anymore. Nobody plays.
You know what? I'm gonna drop the spiciest juice for that. You know what it is? Back in the day, a lot of pro players couldn't fucking keep their mouth shut, and they would say the most fucked up and heinous shit. It's true. It's legitimately true. That's what would happen. I'm not even taking shots at nobody. That is literally what would happen. And that would happen from tier 3 players, amateur, tier 2 contenders, and even Overwatch League players. So you know what they did? They decided that it would be better to play out of voice, because they understand that typing something up is a lot harder and a lot easier to control than just splitting it out. Like, just blurting out some, like, you know, like, I hate you, blah, 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 you know? Like, they didn't have self-control. And so I don't know if they were told, I don't know if coaches, I have no idea, but at some point it became the standard. And I noticed this especially as a streamer. I would join games with former contenders players, former amateur players, and they would instantly leave voice chat the second we loaded in the game. They were in there, streamer joins game, instantly gone. Why especially? Because streamers have audiences, and there's a much higher chance you're going to get blown up for saying some shit. That is legitimately kind of what happened, and it's really sad. It's really sad. That's what happened. And I don't know why. It just became the new trend, and it's so trash.
After they get to a peak that they're happy
It sucks that that's what had to happen, you know?
with, and those that do are always on alt accounts, which means they don't care. Lots of people
That's
don't
true,
even
too.
bother getting to a peak they're happy with, because it doesn't mean anything anymore. For us that have been in top 500 for so long, just the act of getting top 500 doesn't matter at all. It means nothing. What does matter to us is how high in top 500 that we get. Top 250, top 100, top 50, 25, top 10, top 5, rank 1. All of those are goals that we can set for ourselves. Goals that we can be proud of achieving, and achievements that we want to show off.
True.
But finishing top 500 is rewarded the same as finishing rank 1. You just get this lousy title for a season. Not
And
only
no
that,
good players use it because every player who uses it is super insecure and tries to flex on people with it. I have not seen a single good player use the top 500 thing anymore. No one does. It's actually like it's a big flashing warning like, wee wee woo wee woo, I suck.
but the peak rank on your profile is basically fraudulent.
Yeah.
Finishing in a high placement is far more difficult than starting the season in one. And because we no
Yes.
longer have a number to represent our rank in Overwatch 2, what we get on our profiles is
Yeah, this is awful. So in Overwatch 1, when people were like trying to come together, like especially amateur contenders scene, you'd have like a peak, like 4,400 peak, 4,500 peak, 4,600 peak, That was like your highest rank you ever achieved. And that was a good way of dictating like what level of skill is this person at. And so you wouldn't even get a tryout for teams unless you were 4,400 peak, 4,500 peak, 4,600 peak, 4,700 peak. You know what I mean? You wouldn't even get a tryout. But like, how do you determine now if somebody's good or not? Because if you look right now, we're a few weeks into the season. But if you look through what the tank is, right now it's Diamond 2. If I click on this random person's profile, they are season high rank 120 peak. This guy is silver on damage and support and was gold last season on tank. And they're not last season, season 4. They were plat diamond. They finished plat 3 last season, were diamond 5 peak, but now because they're diamond 2, it now shows they are rank 120 peak. You want to see someone who's rank 20 peak last season? Not me. I was rank 158 peak last season. And no offense to that guy, but I think I'm a little better than that guy. Just by a little bit, So, what SK's saying is so correct, and I hope people listen to her, genuinely.
peak rank. For top 500 players, that's the highest placement that we've been over the course of a season. The problem with this is that the very beginning of the season is massively easier than the end of the season.
This is what she's talking about.
I can't express to you how much easier.
And it's much worse this season because of the extra games played so you need 50 wins to get onto the top 500 leaderboard now. Last season it was 25 wins. So because it's 50 wins, there's way less players currently.
It is. In Season 1, I started the season at rank 95, and after a month of not playing, I wasn't even in the leaderboard anymore. But my rank 95 peak on my profile is the exact same as the person who was ranked 95 after that month passed. Even though their achievement was far more impressive than mine because they got it later in the season, we still had the same thing on our profile. Season 6 is a great example of this. On the day that the leaderboards came out, Diamond was top 100 for tank.
Yeah,
by the end
that
of
guy
the
just
season,
showed you.
Top 100 for tank will be so much higher than Diamond, but the person who hits top 100 at the end of the season is going to have the same thing on their profile that the Diamond player who got it at the start has.
And the only difference is the Diamond put in more games won more games and played more games than the other guy at the beginning of the season. That's it. That's the only difference.
This is everyone in high elo playing as much as they can for the first week before the leaderboard comes out, getting a super inflated peak that they won't be able to come close to for the rest of the season, and then not playing anymore, because they well and truly have no chance to touch that peak again. You just wait for the next season and rinse and repeat. And there's no point to finishing a high rank either. Again, all you get is that silly top 500 challenger title. I know it sounds crazy, but the motivation for top 500 players is much different. We're here because we're super competitive and we want to be better than everyone else, and we don't have a way to show that off anymore. The inflated early season peaks means that anyone flexing a top 5 peak or a rank 1 peak is just a clown, because we all know they probably got it at the beginning when it barely counts. We used to be able to flex. Our SR peaks mattered and they hit hard. If someone had a 4.6k peak, you knew they were insane.
Yeah, okay, so before, you know what, chat, you made a good point. Before somebody comes in the comments and goes, but streamer gold guns, I'm pretty sure it's the same for GM and top 500. You get the same competitive points. So it makes no difference.
If someone had a 4.7k...
And let me tell you, the difference between GM5 and top 500 is about genuinely the difference between diamond and high silver. That's how big the jump is. Like high plat, low diamond, and high silver. It is about 1,000 elo difference. that was true in Overwatch 1 as well. Like the difference between a 3900 4K player, like high masters, low GM, versus a high GM player was genuinely about 1,000 SR. It scales differently at that high end.
They were rank 1 and probably a pro. If you ask any top 500 Overwatch player their peak right now, they'll tell you what it is instantly. Mine was 4565. Now that we have no way to prove it or show that off, we just don't play as much. There's no reason to grind. We can't even see our ranks on our portrait anymore. Another problem with GM1...
Yeah, I think SK was meant like the old SR number. Like mine was 4656, I believe.
And not necessarily top 500, is that low GM1 and high GM1 are completely different experiences.
You're not gonna think I pre-watched this!
The difference between Diamond and low GM. The lobbies are...
SK literally just said almost exactly what I said.
The difference between Diamond and high GM1 are with GM1, not necessarily top 500, is that low GM1 and high GM1 are completely different experiences. It's truly the difference between Diamond and low GM. The lobbies are at a completely different skill level. But you have no idea what rank everyone in your lobby actually is, and private profiles hide that from you as well. No matter what role
private
I'm
profile is
playing,
a different
the
conversation.
hero that I pick depends on how hard that I need to carry.
I recently had a proposition that you should be able to pin one of the hero progression characters to your profile, so it one shows off like whatever character you're proud of. Like let's say you have like really high proficiency in Mercy, and you have a lot of badges for the Mercy hero progression. You can pin it to your actual like overview, and it will show Mercy's pinned with like the level, and that way you can see what someone's favorite hero is. And so you know, hey, that person likes to play Mercy without showing like all their stats. Like, oh, it's a Mercy one trick. No, it's just someone maybe who just enjoys Mercy. Same thing with Ryan. Same thing with Widow. You know what I mean? That way you can actually choose who it is, because the old reason why private profile became a thing was because it was extremely toxic. And what would happen is at the beginning of a season, let's say you flexed for your team, and this is actually how I became a tank player, kinda. Let's say I flexed the first 4 games of the season and I played Winston, and then the 5th game I went to play DPS, my actual role, and people were like, dude, why the f are you playing Tracer? You're a Winston player. I'm like, no, wait, no, I'm not. Look at all my last seasons. Last season I had like 40 hours on Tracer and 2 hours on Winston. They're like, no, you're a Winston player. I go, literally click to the next one, but people were too dumb to go to the previous season, so they would just look at like monkey see, monkey do, see the first thing, and they would just like, oh, that person's this. So it was very toxic, and people would be like forced into things that they didn't want to play. So by having a pinned hero, you could be like, it's a suggestion to anyone who looks at it. It's like, hey, I like playing this hero, and you could know as another player or a teammate, like, oh, hey, they like playing this character. I can build something around that, you know?
If I'm able to recognize that I'm in a much lower lobby than normal,
I happened to Emong on support today, not even surprised.
Like Honor or Zen. But if I'm in a lobby that's my skill level, I'll pick Lucio, because that's what I'm best at, even if he has less impact than the other supports that I can play. You used to be able to tell because everyone's rank was plastered in front of you as soon as you got in the game, and it was super hype.
I actually don't mind that it doesn't show anymore.
Lobby because they were rare. The feeling of getting one of those and everyone instantly hard calming trying to win is unrivaled. Imagine...
SK makes a very good point here, but I wouldn't mind. Like, I don't mind that it's not there. I know they're talking about bringing it back, but like, I don't think that's like the biggest problem.
Matching against the rank 1 player and trying to make sure he lost so he wouldn't be number 1 anymore, or denying the rank 2 player from hitting rank 1 by beating him. It's just not the same anymore. Another side effect of removing SR numbers is that
or what happened to me, people Q-sniped me and then threw my games to make sure I couldn't get rank 1. That was the downside, because then they could see, oh, that's his rank 2 right now? Ah, f this guy, I'm off the map. That's the downside.
No way to tell how far away you are from the...
But that's, you know, every good also has a bad
person above you. In top 50, it's common for people to be multiple games apart, meaning you have to win several times to get enough elo just to climb one more spot. In top 10, multiple games can be a lot of games. A great example of this is this player who won 9 games in a row, but didn't go from rank 2 to rank 1, and still had no idea if he was close or not.
I think we forgot to show it. This is a
symptom of another issue in super high elo. The ranked system is not as difficult as it used to be at the very top. In the days of Overwatch 1, you needed to maintain a 70% win rate or higher just for your SR to go up in top 10.
But it wasn't 70%. It was like 53 to 54. But yeah,
it's much easier. Many players are able to keep a solid win rate at the highest level, and it just becomes who plays the most, not who is the best. Combine that with the fact that our rank doesn't
That's
go
true.
lower between seasons, and you get what we have now. People can have huge win advantages over others just because they were super high ranked the season before. There's also a bug that has been in the game for months because of the cards. With every win and loss in top 500, you watch your placement go up and down. But when you finish your card, it goes up or down again, even though every win and loss has already been accounted for.
Yes.
Which really makes you wonder.
Yes, that I spitting right here. It's very. So for those who don't know what she's saying, it's like your rank is changing even though it's not, and then when it's supposed to change, it doesn't. It's very odd.
Is this happening outside of top 500 too, and there's just no way to tell? One more thing is a weird quirk about the duo system that some problematic players are abusing. No matter how high in GM1 you are, even if you're top 10, you can duo with people as low as GM4. Duoing with someone
Wait, is that true?
that low not only makes your queue times faster, but it also makes your games a lot easier.
Holy shit, I didn't even know that, but that's insane actually. That is okay, that is, for those who are in like mostly the metal ranks, if you're plat, that's basically you queuing as like a high plat player with your low silver friend. But if that low silver friend is actually on a Smurf account and they're actually a plat player, but they're playing on a silver account and you're playing together, there's this person on the other team that's going to match them on their rank that's silver. Your plat friend is going to be exceptionally better than the silver player. Exceptionally better. Like, think about how big the gap is between high plat and low silver, right? That is crazy.
Leading to some players who refuse to queue unless they have a super high ranked player smurfing on a GM4 account to duo with. And
Wait. Holy shit, that's actually such a big deal. Oh my god, that's a big deal for a lot of reasons.
how do those duos keep their accounts at GM4 when they're winning all the time? They throw. All of these problems are easily solved, and were solved in Overwatch 1. I could happily sit here and talk about balance and the problems that other players cause, like toxicity, throwing, one-tricking, etc., but we aren't even there yet. The system needs to be fixed first before we even get to any of that. I'm going to suggest what I think would fix all these problems. I don't expect any of this to actually be added to the game, and there are tons of different
This is why I'm watching this, SK. I hope we can amplify it. I am curious on what your suggestion is.
ways to fix all of these. As long as the devs recognize these problems and discuss them, then I'm happy. First off, give us SR back. Let us see it go up and down every game, and give us the option to turn that off if we want to.
Give us SR back. I think we should have a hybrid form. I don't disagree. The old SR system was 100% better. However, though, there are definitely goods to the new system, as was mentioned, with like lowering anxiety and stuff like that. But unfortunately, though, the information on how the rank system works is gatekept. It's not public anywhere. Only people who know about it are the old stream. We're the old village elders. Like all of us old Overwatch 1 players that a lot of the new players hate us because a lot of us are very cynical. And there's a reason why we're cynical, right? Because we've f***ing seen this shit. Like, the reason why the old grandpa is cynical isn't because he's not just stuck in his ways. Sometimes that's true. But also because he's seen a thing or two. You know, he's like, I don't want history to repeat itself. We've seen a lot of this shit in the past. We are the keepers of the knowledge at this point. That we know how the system works, pretty much, because of old knowledge. But all the new players have no clue. They're all lost. They're like, oh, they're literally running around in circles. Like, what's going on? So, I don't know if I totally think we should go back to old SR, but the current system is really bad. I'll give you that.
Ditch the card system, it's way too confusing, and it doesn't achieve what it's meant to. Reset everyone above GM to Masters
Lost me.
1 every season,
Lost me.
and
That
release
system sucked.
the top 500 leaderboard on day 1 of a new season.
I'm open to that one.
But limit the minimum rank of the leaderboard to GM1. Give top
Lost me again.
500 players a title at the end of every season that they can use that
Make it GM. Make it GM. Not GM1, though.
says what they finished at. For example, rank 3 support or rank 250 tank. Animated sprays would be super cool too. I miss those, but that's asking for a lot. Make the highest rank
I mean, nobody really... SK, like, let's be honest with ourselves. Nobody cared about the sprays. Like, Nobody used them. Nobody, you know what everyone did? The first day of the new season, because we had no content, right? Like now when we have start a new season, we have a little bit of content, right? You know what the content of the new season was? Go ask Emong. It was Emong's favorite meme. What he would do is go, all right, new season, here we go. And then he would equip the new top 500 icon that we got for the previous season. And he'd go, all right, that's all the new content. Let's play some games. And then everyone would use the icon for about a week, and then everyone would change it back to whatever they wanted, and everyone moved on. Like that was what it was. Nobody actually liked it. Let's be honest. You know, didn't Tatman loves his old school top rank spray? The old ones for sure. Nostalgia for sure. They were really cool. Like the lighthouse spinning, dude. Nobody has that anymore. But that's not because the spray is good. That's because older skins and older things become more valuable over time. Think about Pink Mercy. Very old skin, extremely sought after. There's so many, like, there was the release Widow skin. That's super sought after. But those are old. It's not because the spray is good. Nobody gave a shit about the spray. I agree, though. Rewards would be nice, but...
Ranks more difficult. Players 2, I'm rank 3 support or rank 250 tank. Animated sprays would be super cool too. I miss those, but that's asking for a lot. Make the highest ranks more difficult. Players in top 10 shouldn't be able to stay there below a 65% win rate. Let us see our ranks on our player board.
I don't know how I feel about that one, but yeah.
I also think it would be really cool if there was a rank above GM1 that didn't have any numbers and was difficult enough that not even everyone on top 500 had it. Rocket League has this in the form of SSL, and it gives people a goal to reach despite the ever-fluctuating leaderboards. No matter how hard or easy top 500 is, that rank would always be hard, and it would be the end goal of everyone playing ranked. Bar GM players from playing with each other if they're too far apart. Make Team Queue a permanent game mode, but set it to certain times of the day so that everyone's queuing at the same time and the queue
Spitting right here.
times aren't ridiculous. And
Yes.
also, why is Open Queue the first leaderboard that opens up when you open up competitive leaderboards? It's the least competitive mode. Combined should...
So, fun fact, OpenQ is very much played outside of NAEU. Like, in Asia region, it's actually the most common, I believe. And it's especially popular in PC bang culture, because you sit down on PC to go play games, and you only have a certain amount of time. And you can't sit in queue for 10 minutes. You want to get in a game, go. And because open queue, you just need 5 players per team. You don't need tank, 2 DPS, 2 supports. It's a much faster queue time, and people just bang out games really fast. So it's much more popular outside of NA. But I do agree with you. It doesn't feel... but it's a culture difference. Like, we have to be somewhat respectful of that, I think.
show up first, or tank, or DPS, or support. Anyway, thank you for listening to my rant. I'm super passionate about this stuff. Be sure to leave a comment if there's anything that I missed. Have a good one.
I don't know if she even missed anything. I feel like she nailed almost everything. A couple things I disagreed with, but I feel like she nailed almost everything. I'm trying to think. The only thing I would think on the team queue, I would like it to be like a once every 2 weeks or maybe a once a month type of thing, and it would be like somehow hyped up, or somehow like there's like some kind of incentive behind it, or something cool, like something that makes people queue it, because there's no point in team queue below masters, right? Like masters and below, you can stack. So why would you play team queue outside of it, right? Like team queue is literally like, here's GMs only, and then not only is it GMs only, it's GMs only plus you have to have a full stack of people. So now it's like triple as long, right? Maybe a tournament mode would be better. In my humble personal opinion, I think you just need to unlock 5 stacking in actual ranked, and it needs to be 5 versus 5. Like, I can take the L of sitting there and waiting so long if I choose to. But putting it in a totally separate game mode, it creates a secondary idea of like, yeah, it's another game mode. I'm going to be sitting there all day. Nobody's going to end up playing it. It's whatever. What if it's in the actual ranked mode? Then now there's a reason, because everyone, you know what I mean? Like, your actual real rank is also tied to it. It's not like a separate Mickey Mouse rank. It's tied to your actual rank. So things matter, you know? So if, let's say, oh, dude, we could easily climb to top 500 by 5 stacking. Like, let's 5 stack instead. Well, those people aren't going to realize that you're going to be playing against 5 stacks, and your games are going to be much harder, but you will have the extra team coordination, right? So it's not a separate Mickey Mouse rank. It's part of your actual rank, but if you would still have the really long queue times. That I think there's a bit of give and take that can be done there. But other than that, though, hey, SK spit all through this. I personally haven't played much ranked because, to be honest with you, I don't really care anymore. There's no reason to care. There's no point. I don't give a shit. You know, you see I play quick play all day long nowadays. You see it in my content. You'll actually probably start seeing more of my ranked content in the next couple weeks because like I have like a pipeline of stuff that goes out. But the point is though, do I play quick play and get a game in 2 or 3 minutes? Or do I play ranked and wait 10 to 15 minutes per game? And it's the same quality of game because newsflash, the way the matchmaker works is quick play and ranked. It's actually the exact same. The only difference is there's anomalies of like I could queue with a silver player. And so like the silver player's on support and I'm on tank. The matchmaker will find a GM tank and a silver support and throw those in our game. And then of course, like whatever the other ranks are, like let's say 2 masters DPS and another plat support, then it'll be 2 DPS that are masters and a plat support. But the 2 tanks will be GM, the 2 DPS will be masters, 1 support on each side will be silver, 1 support on each side will be plat. So like that's how it works. And it's worked that way all the way through the ranks. The only difference is in ranked, you won't get plats, you'll just get other GM players. So it's kind of like why grind rank? Because I'm going to sit here for hours. So I pretty much agree with SK almost the whole way through here. This was a really good video.